This is the Concord Municipal Affordable Housing Trust. It's Thursday, November 2025 at 5 p.m. And the first order of business is a call to order by roll call. Mary Hartman,
Here.
Mike Lawson,
Here.
Rich Feely,
Here.
Linda Escobedo,
Present?
Matt Johnson.
Present.
I don't see Carrie LaFleur yet, and Keith Bergman present. So we do have a quorum. Oh, and there's Carrie. And I'll just call Carrie's name to say present.
Present.
Very good. Thanks. Gang's all here. And welcome all back to our meeting. Next item is approval of minutes that were set from October 23rd that were in your packet. And I wonder if there's a motion to approve those minutes.
Move to approve the minutes as presented. Second.
Motion by Mike, second by Rich. Is there discussion?
I have a question.
Sure.
I wasn't at that meeting, so I can't approve I could approve the minutes, but I'm going to stay silent on that. I just have a clarifying question about the board's vote to invite I think it was the CHDC to apply for a loan. And I'm wondering, was that a vote to approve that or to invite them to ask for?
No, it was a vote to invite them to submit an application to us, which presupposed that they would discuss that idea further with us before they actually put an application in. But that further discussion has not occurred yet.
Okay, and are they waiting for the CPC decision around extending the funds?
I hope not. The idea is frankly for us to see if we can come to some way forward that is acceptable to both the trust and the CHDC by the time CHDC goes to the Community Preservation Committee to request to act on their extension request. I think it would be stronger for the CPC to know whether there's a way forward or not.
Do we have any
So
financials on that? I guess we'll wait to hear from CHDC,
Yeah,
right?
we have no new
Okay.
information for this meeting, and it's not
Okay.
on.
Okay, sorry.
And if we don't get anything before the CPC takes up its extension request, then we can't be of much help to help CHDC resolve this.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
but we've made the offer. Okay, so on the motion to approve the minutes, let's take a roll call vote. Mary,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Linda,
Aye.
Carrie,
Yes.
Matt,
Aye.
and Keith, aye. So that passes by a vote of 7-0. Great. Next item is funding for the trust, and the first item is an update on our application to the Community Preservation Committee. We've applied for $785,500, which we had calculated as being approximately 25% of the available funds that CPC would have for the coming funding round through a combination of new money, which they'd estimated at $1.8 million, and reserve funds of various categories, which brings their estimated total to about $3.5 million. New information that we have about the funding source is I did see that the state issued its trust fund distributions for state matching funds in this month, and Concord's number is $9,800 less than last year. So, by my count, a rounding error compared to what the estimate was for revenue. So presumably, the amount of money that we thought CPC would have, they approximately have going forward. However, they do have applications that total $4.9 million. So their available revenues are $1.4 million less than what the total of all the applications are that are in front of them. So I saw at CPC's November 4th meeting, they're had an initial discussion of how to balance their budget and have their appropriations be no more than what the cash on hand is. And a couple of scenarios were floated. Those are you can get a screenshot from the November 4th meeting, and I included the numbers in the packet. A couple of potential scenarios for balancing the budget offered by the CPC chair. Both of them propose to knock us down to $500,000. Various scenarios fund different levels for the amenities building for the high school. There didn't seem to be a scenario where they don't fund the high school. But so I guess what I take from there is that funding the high school knocks us down from the amount that we requested to a lower amount. CPC's discussion will continue on November 25th, this coming Tuesday at 7 o'clock. Where they'll have further discussion about how they're going to balance their budget. So that's what I know, and wanted to share that with the group. And I also want to thank the Housing Foundation, the CHDC, and the Housing Authority for their letters of support for our grant and the full amount, which have been received by the CPC or in their packet. Matt Johnson.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I mean, it's not in our domain, but is it a foregone conclusion that the CPC will support the school's funding request for that facility, given, I mean, that the voters turned down the facility and that there's been ongoing, discussions about it? Uh, it just seems strange that, okay, you take it to town meeting, they say no, you go to, I mean, where they say, actually, I guess they said yes, then you go to the voters, they say no, and then you go to the CPC saying, well, the voters didn't like it, but hey, let's fund it. I just think it's kind of, again, I'm not part of that committee. It's not my thing to,
Right.
but it just seems odd that is it just they're going forward, or is it going to potentially not get approved?
Mary, did I see your hand up?
Yeah, if you want, I can add something to that. I think I'm hearing from voters that some people are more open to using CPC funds because we already have the money, whereas the ballot question failed because it would have required raising new debt. Now, that's just what I'm hearing from
I see.
voters. From the CPC, I think the CPC is still waiting to see if the schools and the DPW are going to come together as far as what are the sewer requirements for the amenities building. Because up until this point, I don't think the schools have a sign off from the DPW as far as how they're going to handle the sewage from the building. So I think that's where that stands with the CPC.
All right,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah, I think at some level it's a problem. And CPC is being, by virtue of the application in front of them, they're being asked to solve a problem that is not theirs,
Yeah.
and that requires answers by others. Linda.
So I've also been at those CPC meetings where they've discussed the scenarios, and I think they are just that, scenarios at this point,
Yeah.
and that until they take a final vote. And that I do believe that's how they left it.
Any, any further thoughts? So, my plan is to continue to attend, CPC meetings, and, monitor information. I did want to share with them, though. I mean, frankly, the trust can update them on what our fund balance is, especially after tonight, because if we vote tonight to commit funds for 91B Main Street as is on our agenda, that brings us our trust fund balance down to 1.8 million. And we know that that's just to acquire the property. There's another $700,000 beyond that that would be required to develop units there, which brings us down to 1.1 million. So it actually does make a difference if we get 500,000 or a higher number, because the additional figures that are available this year are one-time uh, reserves. And once those are given out to someone once, they're not available next year. It's when we may need them. So, Mary.
Can you remind me again, how much would we have to, you're talking about the fund balance going down because of 91B. How much further would it go down if we were to lend money, or I don't know the mechanism for the to supplement the CPC and the Affordable Housing Trust funds held
Yeah,
for the buy down?
well, yeah, for temporarily at least, we would be down by some number. But I mean, whatever the amount of the short-term loan is, that it's a basically a refundable grant. So if it's $300,000, that brings us down to $800,000, for example. I will say, though, that the $700,000 for development of CP of the 91B Main Street
Mhm.
would not, that cash wouldn't be needed, and I hope, until after if after the time period that we might have granted additional funds for the buy down program and then had those funds returned. Unless we're it really depends on what the timetable is, how accelerated we are for proceeding with development, or incurring costs for development of 91B Main.
Do you think
But
our
it's close.
CPC, oh, sorry.
We're
Oh,
paying,
wait.
we're close. It's like,
Yeah, we're
the
getting down there.
SHI is close to 10, and our balance is close to 1. Linda and then Rich.
Keith, I would just add to what your answer to Mary is that I believe it was Liz who said it would be at least 2 years maybe before we got that loan money back, if I remember correctly. I mean, it's just another part of the equation to take into consideration.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts that are best remedied by giving us more money to do what we've been charged to do. Rich.
Yeah, I do think that we could get it back before we needed it for 91B. The other thing is there's nothing on the horizon closer than 3 or 4 years that I can see where we would need significant money. I mean, because we got to wait for the land use planning group and MCI before we can really start talking about where we would put any more significant housing. So, but I do wonder whether we should point out to CPC that the housing production plan is based on getting, I believe specifically says 25% of CPC funding until we get a transfer fee. And, frankly, I think our credibility, if there is an option to be an experimental community for the transfer fee, would be improved if we stuck to that 25%. Is that worth a letter?
Um, I'm not certain. It's certainly worth making the case in general that we have projects that will bring our balances down to levels where we cannot act quickly when other opportunities arise. I think that so I guess I just stop there. I don't want to uh, I think that it's our goal. It's not the housing production plan that says 25% of
Yeah.
funds should be used. That the town meeting back in 2019 said $500,000 a year, which is about what we're getting. So if that's what they give us, until the real estate transfer fee kicks in, then I think we'll be okay with what what the public expectation is. It was rather, we had a one-time opportunity this year only to go after some of the uh, reserve funds that had accumulated over time, 1.4 million. And if we don't get any of that this year, we won't ever get any of that. We'll just be standing in line every year.
I may say so, I may write something on behalf of the foundation, but thanks, that's what I need
Okay.
to hear.
Linda?
Keith, you usually do a pretty good job when you speak at the CPC meetings, pairing the fund balance and and the amount of our request with the fact that we're hovering around the 10% SHI, and that could change.
Right,
And
right.
I think pairing those together is
Yeah,
very,
yeah, I'll
very
want
important.
to, yeah, I think it would be timely, to say something, if they have public statements at Tuesday's meeting. Frankly, as many voices on this call that would like to come to that meeting would be helpful. It's a virtual meeting, it's this Community Preservation Committee. All right. Any, we'll be continuing some of these discussions on other topics. And can we go to the next one, update on state legislation? Which tonight we'll call Death by Study. The Joint Committee on Revenue has reported out to a study our home rule petition on the building permit surcharge, and have not yet made recommendations on any of the real estate transfer fees, our home rule petition, LOHAS, or any of the other communities that had submitted them. They do have a deadline of December 3rd to report out. And I don't know if Rich has any further insight on what might come from the LOHA coalition.
Really, nothing new. We had a meeting this week. Everybody who hadn't written was urged to do so. There have been discussions with uh, the staff or the chairs themselves. The feeling is that the Senate will probably report it out favorably anyway. But nobody knows for sure what the House will do. The hope is it gets out and then we start talking to Ways and Means and the staff and the Speaker's office.
Right.
But
It's
it is,
interesting you mentioned
it
that.
ain't dead yet.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And it's interesting you mentioned that the Senate will report it out and what that means. And this is an issue that I raised at the Massachusetts Municipal Management Association's fall conference in Worcester today. Saw Carrie and Megan there among a room full of others. And the question I asked of MMA's legislative director is what happens? What should we do about the fact that the Senate doesn't even get the Joint Committee on Revenue? The senators don't even get to vote on our home rule petition because it's filed as a House bill. Nobody knew. For years, we've been filing our home rule petitions as whatever our legislators thought was best, and they've filed it routinely as a House bill. This year, however, after that happened, the bills were filed in January. After that happened, months after, the two chambers came up with brand new rules for the joint committees. And for example, the Joint Committee on Revenue, chaired by Jamie Eldridge, who is a big supporter of real estate transfer fees. He can't vote on our home rule petition that was heard by his committee because he's a senator and it's a House vote. The best that he can do on our behalf is to vote for the Senate version, vote to report out the Senate version of the Loha bill. And the question I asked of MMA's legislative director is that should we be thinking more, should we all the cities and towns be thinking more strategically about how we file legislation? Now, if our senators, typically the Senate has been more supportive of the real estate transfer fees than the House has. So can we think more strategically to make sure the senators actually get to vote on it? It's a real inside baseball problem, but it's a problem. It was the House members of revenue that sent our building permit fee to a study. The senators didn't even get to vote on it. Okay, any other thing? So no cheery news there. Next item I wanted to share is a fund balance report for the trust that we just got $37,092 in additional interest income applied to the trust. So we have a new balance, which I will, let's see, I'm the host here, so I should be able to share my screen to show you. Let's see. Can you see that?
Yep.
All right, our total revenues now over time have passed the $6 million mark. We were just under, now we're over. Through our votes to date, we've spent $3.5 million in projects, including the recent sprinklers and the housing production plan, leaving $2.4 million as the amount that we have. If you subtract $600,000 from that for the purchase of the 91B main, you're down to 1.8 million and so forth. And we will continue to keep track of, and I'll be issuing a revised spreadsheet that includes that recent interest income and attached to a record of our meeting. So, any questions about that? All right. Next item is housing production plan updates. Is there any news to share or not share about MCI Concord or Junction Village? I think there will come a date when we will know more. That date I'm hearing might be in December or even January. So stay tuned.
Right.
Okay. Very good. Next is 91B Main Street surplus state property. And on this, I'm happy to report considerable progress made with town council. There have been a number of questions that have lingered out there for some weeks. When we last discussed it, we knew that MassDOT was offering the 1.45 acre surplus property to the town for $600,000, which is less than the appraised value. It's less than a 2-year-old appraised value. Town council was able to confirm that MassDOT can only transfer the property directly to the municipality or one of its entities directly, and they could not transfer it. Our ask was that to have it transferred directly to the Concord Housing Development Corporation, which it was determined both by MassDOT and Town Council for their purposes of what is a municipal entity did not include CHDC. In fact, its independence has been a hallmark of how it's been able to do some things that the town cannot. What that does leave, however, is that the trust is a municipal entity, and the trust can acquire land without a town meeting vote. Interestingly, the town cannot acquire land without a town meeting vote. If the select board were to say, oh, yeah, sure, we'll take that land, that would require a vote of town meeting. Under our bylaws establishing the trust, the procedure for us to obtain it is to get approval by the select board, to get the select board's prior approval for the trust to obtain property. So the procedures that town council has outlined point to the ability to close on the property as early as January or February of next year, if the decision is made to go ahead. There's a lot of information that we know about the property. We know that we know it's on the sewer. We know it's right next door to 930 Main Street, which was the very first affordable housing project that was funded by what I'm calling trust funds. That 2019 town meeting that appropriated the very first $500,000. That was expended by the select board, but their first vote was $150,000 to acquire towards the acquisition of 930 Main Street. Which was developed between the CHDC was involved and it's a habitat project, and now it's 2 owner-occupied affordable units. Right next door to that is this 1.5 acre undeveloped land that MassDOT is offering to us. And the procedure, we had a meeting with the town council. Kerry was on the call, Elisa, Julie McClure from CHDC, and we talked through with town council what his opinion means. And what our next steps are, in order to select a developer, it would need a request for proposals process, and the RHSO has offered to provide that service. If it had been transferred directly to CHDC, RHSO would have been providing the level of service to support that board in selecting a developer, and they could do that for the trust as the entity that would select a developer. Although I have to say, we would then have to, at the point at which the property gets transferred to owners, that also requires a select board vote. So we can forewarn the select board that once qualified buyers are selected, that their approval would be needed. Our bylaw says that we can acquire or dispose of property with select board approval. We might want to get a pre-approval from them on the idea of selling it to qualified buyers so that we don't have to come back again. The CHDC has been offered what we came up with is that there's nothing that precludes the trust if we were amenable, and the CHDC if they were amenable, for the trust essentially deputizing the CHDC to do what they've always done with development projects and to and to oversee it, deal with the selection process. They'd need to make a recommendation to us on the developer. And so that's so some further conversations need to be had with
Keith, I've got
CHDP is to see if they're interested or not. Mary?
If I read this correctly, and there's a lot of information here, is it true that if the Affordable Housing Trust elects to transfer the property to CHDC and they agree, that would require a vote of town meeting?
Yes, that's correct, and
So
and
you're
that's not an offer that's being made
so
right now
okay. So
because
I
it
guess
would tie us up until April. Yeah.
I'd like to
It would-
understand that better when you say deputize CHDC to act on behalf of the trust. What does that what do you have in
Well,
mind?
yeah, what it does not mean, it means that the property would not be transferred to CHDC, that it would go to the trust and remain with the trust until such time as it were transferred to qualified buyers. If, however, the CHDC, who is more familiar with the development process than we are, wants to use their skills on our joint benefit, as they were prepared to do if they if they were to take ownership of the property. I didn't want to eclipse that possibility. It's a shift in the way Concord would be doing housing. And somehow if we're shifting it from CHDC to the trust, I just want to be very sure that that the trust understands that and that's or that works for them as well. Liz and then Linda.
There's a lot to work out. There are a lot of parties here. So Keith, when you say that the trust would sell to eligible buyers, are you talking about the end buyers there?
Yes.
That there's a missing piece, I think, for the development of the property, though. I'm not sure where that's happening there. I think that
Okay. Yeah, a good point. Yeah, perhaps the transfer of ownership that comes into play. Thanks for mentioning that. Would be from the trust to the developer, and then when the developer transfers it to eligible buyers, that would be beyond our reach, right? So it's the developer. Thank you for that. Thanks for that clarification.
And in this scenario, if the CHDC assisted with the RFP process, the CHDC would not respond to the RFP. So there's, so the CHDC would not be involved in the developers. The developers would contract directly with the trust.
Right. That's right. Yeah, I mean, the only alternative that could involve the CHDC would be what, as the example Mary mentioned, that if the property were to be transferred from the trust to CHDC, which is possible to do, it would take a town meeting vote, and town council is still, I think, looking closely at can that transfer be affected by virtue of CHDC's controlling state statute, and to have the transfer just be because town meeting voted to do it, or is there some other step involved? So, yeah, Mary?
I think Linda
I'm
had
not proposing that, yeah.
Linda had her hand up first.
Oh, yeah, Linda, sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Liz already touched on the role of CHCD for the RFP, and I was just going to insert the terminology that CHCD would be advisory to CMAS. So I think Liz had already touched.
Yes, yes, advisory, because they would not be the property owner, the trust would be, but we're looking to use the expertise that they collectively have in the development process which would be something new for us.
I'm wondering if there's another model where the trust owns the property, CHDC is an advisory role, and the issuing of the RFP could be done by the town, by our community development group with the advice of CHDC. Because I guess I'm going back to I'm kind of there seems to be a shift in the roles in town as around community development being more active, involved in housing, and I don't so it's something available to us if we want to take advantage of that.
I think that is the model that Keith is talking about. That
Is he?
the trust, the CHCC cannot issue the RFP really because they're not the property owner. They don't have really authority to issue the RFP. They can write it, they can receive the responses, but I would think that the trust would actually issue the RFP. That the property owner, well, we would have to
Well,
Yeah, I
okay, well,
mean,
I'm wrong
you're
about
right.
that. I would think
Okay,
that the
so
property owner actually issues the
yeah,
RFP.
yeah.
yeah, so
What,
what I'm getting at is, like, I've never issued an RFP, and I don't know if we'd need support. We would
Yeah,
need,
yeah,
and I think
right.
yeah,
There's nothing we can do without the community development
yeah,
division overseeing our HSO services. Elisa?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just to confirm that it would be the community development department would be, happy to be the kind of main conduit, and that RHSO is basically our support to help do that. So we would be working together to help with the RFP process.
That sounds great.
and who would select who would make the selection? Sorry, Keith, is this the right time to ask some of these
Sure.
details?
Yeah.
Who would make the
You're
selection?
asking the questions the select board will ask when we ask them for their approval. Yeah.
Right. Well, there might be more.
Yeah.
There's more of them than just me.
Right. Right.
So who would actually do the selecting and
It
you know,
would be
I-
the trust would do it with the advice of the community development slash RHSO staff, and it would be following what I presume is a very structured, it's been a long time since I've done a procurement. But I know that the procurement procedures and how you rate the most advantageous proposal is pretty specific because you have to, because it's designed to be objective, and that's why we want the professionals doing that. But then their results would need to be voted on by the trust.
And I remember, Liz, a few meetings ago, you put together the financials for an assumption, I think that there would be 4 units there. Am I remembering this? I mean, I know that the select board will want to know, okay, what does this cost per unit? And do you remember that schedule that you put together?
I did. At this point, though, the development estimates are too old, I believe. The construction estimates in there are, I mean, it's conceptual, but I think that you'd really want to before at some point, I don't know what the right milestone is, to revisit those development estimates. The development change, it's a very volatile piece. And then there were
Yep.
assumptions there also about the AMI of the sales, and that there's been discussion about reducing the AMI from 120 to 100, or even habitat, looking at a habitat project, and that changes a lot of
Right.
pieces. And so you don't really know till you issue the RFP and people come back with, this is what it would cost us to develop, this is how much subsidy we would be looking at the town, and there, that's like what happened with Assabet River Homes. Even though there was some preliminary estimates done, until the RFP responders came back, you don't know really what it's going
Right.
to cost.
Right. This is what we know preliminarily, just based on the sets of assumptions that we looked at before, 325,000 per unit. That compares interestingly to about 250,000 per unit for the two units several years ago now at 930 Main. And was that an existing structure?
It was exactly. So
Yeah,
that was really just
so it was a
rehab.
different sort of project. So
Yeah, and that's both Habitat. I mean, what the
yeah,
930 Main Street was Habitat.
right.
So,
Yeah,
so we
oh,
can certainly use those, Mary, for some kind of planning, but it's not going to be, I wouldn't suggest that the decision about the per unit subsidy be strong in the decision to go forward. Or there should be more work done on updating the development costs.
Yes, okay.
Carrie.
And Liz, this is the work that RHSO contracted out maybe even 2 years ago at this point, the development cost that was prepared by a third party, is that?
It was the CHDC did that, yes. The
Okay,
CHDC contracted that out and the town paid the CHDC for
Yeah.
that work, yeah.
yeah,
Oh, that was no, I'm sorry, Carrie. That was the conceptual plan.
yeah,
So the CHDC got the development costs through their arrangement with Dan Gainsborough, actually. And the town did not fund that, but the CHDC contracted directly for that.
yeah. I think I'm with Mary. I am concerned that when this goes to the select board is going to be looking for updated information on development costs, estimates, and then the ultimate cost or estimated cost per unit. Yeah, I don't think that took that long to pull it together, right? But it's a cost.
Well, and the CHDC you can talk to them. I mean, they haven't even discussed this project. They haven't discussed whether they're interested in being this advisory role. So don't want to get too far ahead in terms of that process and that understanding and whether they would present those numbers or work on that.
Yeah, so
Or
just
yeah, I hear you.
yeah, just one last thing for the group because this just seems to be so complicated and getting more complicated. And we're incurring legal fees and the town is covering those legal fees right now because we don't really have another funding source for that. And I am concerned with, how much further we get into this project before, we're either doing it or we're not doing it. But right now we're spending, handfuls of thousands of dollars on analysis, I guess.
Yeah.
Matt, thanks, Carrie. Matt.
It seems to me that we heard the development costs not very long ago. Really? They're already out of date? It just
Well,
it's
because
like
they,
3 months ago that
the estimate, what the figures we saw were based on 120% of AMI. And I don't
They
think,
were based on the construction costs were based on the mill run development.
Oh my gosh. Oh my
okay,
gosh.
but so
That's
that means that the very first
wow.
numbers we heard were already out of date.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, it just basically we haven't done an estimate. I mean, we've got a back of the envelope.
Well,
Just
it
as a
was
point that
presented as a conceptual number, and it was presented as those numbers with some, cost of living or cost of construction updates. So I don't want to present it that they were completely 10 years old. But it was always assumed that they would be, updated as things went forward. Like construction numbers, you can't use them for 2 years. You can't use them for
No,
2
but
years. Right?
this is
we
2
were
months.
presented those numbers just a couple of
A
months
couple
ago.
of months ago.
No, well, let me just get when they were first, because they've been revamped a few times as the things have changed. The size of the units changed and all
Yeah,
that. The
sure,
base,
I
the
understand that.
base
Maybe it's been
square
6 months
footage,
since,
the
yeah.
base square footage construction number has been the same for quite some time.
yeah, the work we're doing with the land use working group and the MCI advisory board, we're learning that construction costs are going up phenomenally. So, even if we had really good numbers a few months ago, they've probably changed since then. So I really think we need to update our numbers and get them as, as close to actual numbers, and maybe even put it in a contingency there. And then rerun the numbers and see, how much this is going to cost the trust per unit.
I think that one side of it is the expense side of what the construction is. The
Right.
other side is who are you selling it to and what
That's
kind of proceeds are. So what kind of AMI range? Is it 120? Is it 100? Is Habitat an option to go lower? That's as important as the construction hard cost per square foot.
Okay, for me, that whether we go 100 or 120 would depend upon the construction cost.
Mhm.
But I'm sorry.
Carrie?
That was a mistake.
Oh, okay, you were very good.
Whoops.
Um, and, I want to a topic that I've raised with in earlier discussions with town council, which I would hope to be able to address in our further conversations between the town and MassDOT, is I'd asked initially back in August whether there was any advantage to uh, to this transfer of state surplus state funds coming under the Affordable Homes Act uh, surplus state property program, which, as those of you working closely on MCI Concord know, means that the state law, it's a matter of law. If you get property under that program, the developer has to have the developer has the right to develop 4 units per acre without any further ado by the town. So it's again, it's an inside baseball thing, but if we were able to get MassDOT to recognize this as triggering that program, the developer would not have to go get a zoning amendment or you know even a zoning approval for 4 units per acre, which might make it easier to do. A side issue, Rich.
Yeah, I just hope we don't get in an infinite do loop here, but when we're talking about cost per unit, basically the ARPA money is free. To me, that's the equivalent of when you talk about the cost per unit of say, a complex new development with tax credits. The tax credits don't cost the town anything. They are, factored into the financial package to make it work. So I could make the argument that this is going to provide 4 units at 100,000, which is the difference between the land cost and the purchase price and the ARPA grant, and whatever amount is not covered by the ultimate sale to the final owners. In other words, let's keep this moving. I mean, nothing's going to happen in this town for 5 years in affordable housing except this. And so I would really like, maybe 5 years from now, Nova will be finished, but that's it. And so I'd really like to see us keep this moving. That's all. Thanks, Keith.
Thanks, Rich. Mary?
I agree with you. I agree with you, Rich. I really want to keep this moving as well. I'm just trying to get answers to questions that may come up because this does need to.
Oh, no, you're going to get them. I understand.
Okay.
No, it's good. No, it's an excellent discussion because we need to be prepared for we're after an approval by the select board. We appreciate that the town has given us $500,000 in ARPA funds specifically to buy this property, and hope that we can do that. Hope we get permission to do that. So on our way forward, there is a proposed motion in the packet for proposing that we vote pursuant to our bylaw to request the select board's approval for us to make this acquisition. It's $600,000. 500,000 would come from our ARPA funds. The remaining 100 would be from CPA funds. Now, that CPA funds assumes, if we're doing CPA funds, that assumes up to 100% of AMI. So if we're not happy with that, if we want to go up to 120, then it would be non-CPA funds. Um, but and if we're not ready to decide which, we don't have to, because we're just voting to, we can just say the purchase price is 500,000 or 600,000, then come back later to what the sources are when we're actually get select board approval. Mary?
Keith, I don't know if we're ready to vote on what, I mean, I know we want to move this forward, but if we're queuing this up for the select board and we don't have all of our figures together so that we know what we're asking for, are we really ready to vote to spend ARPA money on something that we're not sure? We certainly, I guess we don't have to spend the money, but I guess I'd like to understand, how are we going to get the figures together to bring it to the select board so that we can put it down, a deposit down, and move forward with buying this.
Right. To that, I would turn to our community development director and RHSO to um, on when they could report back to us with additional information that answers questions raised tonight that would make us all feel comfortable in moving this forward for a select board vote of approval.
I'll say I just went and looked, so the development square footage cost numbers were from last November, so they're a year old. And the memos all talked about conceptual subsidy numbers, but it feels like you want something more than conceptual numbers. You want them a little bit like revisited. So it involves engaging someone who does construction to come down. Then there's the question of the AMI or the sales proceeds, and we can estimate a few scenarios for those. There's the sewer hookup and the soft costs and the things that aren't the hard construction and the number of units that are going to be built there, and we can ballpark some of that. The legal fees, I think we know that Aspet River Bluff was 130,000 of legal fees. So, that's a real number to start factoring in. So if we have multiple conveyances, if we have a complicated arrangement, then it's going to be a complicated legal scenario. So I think ironing out what the CHDC role is and how is that structured, or how is the trust going to go forward with conveying the property at a high level, some of the things that you talked about today, and there were questions around that, getting that also straight of like how the transaction would work, who would issue the RFP, and how the selection would occur, and other questions that came up. Mary had a few questions there that were also important.
Yeah, and it's a soft cost. My recollection of the $1.3 million figure that Liz had projected to acquire and develop included the soft costs, including legal costs. So, I mean, I think we're prepared to cover those if anyone wanted to ask us.
Yeah, it's just whether they're sufficient. So it's really just updating all the costs there and seeing if they're, if they need to be updated.
Matt.
So I didn't think I heard a date by which we could get something back that we could use from the RHSO.
No, I didn't provide one. I didn't know I was going to be asked for that. I don't know who's going to hire someone to provide these construction costs. Last time it was the CHDC. So this RHSO doesn't have ability to hire that.
Yeah.
So
it would be, I think it would be the community development department that would do it and send us the bill.
Yeah, I think the reason I'm asking is just, isn't time of the essence here? I mean,
That's why it's
these
on.
are ARPA
That's why.
funds. When
That's why
they
this item is
disappear?
on the agenda less than a week after, days after finally got a written opinion from town council.
Good, we have momentum.
That's why it's here tonight.
Carrie's got her hand up.
Carrie.
Well, I was just thinking we're hiring this kind of person to do some work for the land use working group. I
Oh,
mean, I know it's commercial. We're looking for somebody to do commercial, but I'm assuming they can do residential as well. The select board meets on December 8th and then December 22nd. So we're either getting something done really quick in the next handful of days to get to the 8th, or we're waiting until the 22nd. So I guess, Elisa, I wonder if you could reach out to Russ Carlstead tomorrow and ask him whether or not he has, he knows who the land use working group is. He has that scope of service under contract because that was authorized a couple of weeks ago, and I wonder if we can just
Yes.
tag this on and apportion the bill appropriately.
Well, I like the 22nd because I think the select board might be in a gift-giving mood by then.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. I like the optics are better. Yeah, especially with the Santa Claus hats that we'll wear that night.
That you'll give us, yes.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, no, I can reach out to Russ. That is a pretty tight timeline to get, I feel like the pretty detailed analysis that you're looking for. So, just wanna, kind of make sure everyone understands that that's a pretty tight timeline for
yeah,
for this kind of analysis. So
yeah.
we can try. I just don't know if it's gonna happen by when you need it by. That's all.
Not to
Very
throw
good. We'll
another
do.
variable into this, but Keith, when you were talking about that disposal process for the land and the 4 units per acre, well, that would imply that you could build 6, even 7 units
Yes.
theoretically on this site. Now, I don't know if that's practical, but of course that would, potentially change the economics of the project. I mean, of course, the total value cost would be higher, but cost per unit would likely be lower.
Right.
And
It would be, yeah, I mean, it's my fondest hope that that more than 4 units can fit there, but we're aware from input from Elizabeth Hughes along the way, there may be other site issues which make that less likely.
yeah,
And hopefully what's not making it less likely is the Public Works Department's willingness to grant a sewer hookup for more than 4 units.
yeah, I guess should we
Hope
just
they're
stick
open
with
to
the
that.
4 unit?
I think so. I
Yeah,
do.
not try to spin this into a whole new thing because I think that we've already are kind of up against a lot of complexity and
Yeah,
variables.
Uh,
yeah, it's good. Yeah, this is 4 units is a known commodity, and we
Yeah.
haven't actually fessed up to any more than that. And I'd say if in the development process, if someone comes and says, "Hey, well, bidder says, well, we figured out a way to do more," that would be welcome news. But for a go no go decision by the select board, I think if we stick to
Yeah,
the
and I thought
no
we
four
also had
units,
something about 9 bedrooms or something that was already,
yeah,
correctly, 9 bedrooms.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
the limit for not getting a special waiver for the sewer. And we would
well,
need
we don't care
way
about
more
that.
design, way more
That
design for them.
Yeah, we have friends at the sewer department, so I hope we're
Okay.
not letting 9 bedrooms separate us from our happiness.
I,
Mary?
Well,
I got
again,
it.
I think
Oh,
variables may be separating us from our happiness there. I mean, again,
Yeah,
just throwing new things out there now might be hard.
yeah.
I,
Mary?
I wonder if to speed up the process of understanding construction costs, we could simply call Dan Gainsborough. Somebody mentioned his name earlier. I mean, he's the man who understands the cost of residential affordable homes, rather than going through, adding it to the RFP or the procurement through the land use working group. It's just an idea. Elisa, I think you might want to think about it's an idea that you could call Dan.
I think Liz, you already have worked with Dan on I thought you worked with him on the estimate that
Yeah.
that the trust has,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
A
Yeah,
year ago, though.
Yeah. So I can certainly call him to see if he would update that and see what that would look like.
it's an idea. You can
Yeah.
decide
Well,
who gives you the best number.
Okay,
I think if we
so,
want to move more quickly, I would say that we would want to do that, Liz. I'll try to see if we can get something through the land use working group. I just thinking of the timeline, I'm a little bit hesitant that's going to be done by, late December.
Yeah, and I think all we can ask for at this point is current cost per square foot for residential construction. I mean, until somebody really, sees the whole RFP, they can't get a whole lot more defined than that.
I,
So,
I have a,
Also,
I have a suggestion on when we should all report in on this matter, and it's when, I know right now we're looking at trying to schedule, a Concord Housing Roundtable for, mid December. I saw some dates, floated for the week before, December 22nd. If, I think it would be a reasonable deadline for us to have information that we can present at the next housing roundtable, even if it's preliminary, because we will be picking that date because it will be one that all the select board can attend. And it might be a way to give them a pre-briefing without actually asking them for a vote to share what we know at that next housing roundtable. So if we can figure out what date that is and then have some kind of status report that we will know more than we know now.
I don't know.
Because I don't think we can be quiet about this. I don't think we should be mum about this at the next housing roundtable.
We might not be mum, but we don't, I mean, I thought the purpose of the roundtable was to get the different housing groups aware and to also, to share learnings, but to advocate something to the select board at a Concord Housing Roundtable. Awareness or information is one thing, but the discussion about the funding, I think, should happen at a select board, or the decision to move forward or not.
Oh yeah, I'm not looking for a decision for the select board
Yeah, but even if,
at the roundtable, that the roundtable would occur before their decision vote, but it would be an opportunity for them to hear something about it before they hear it cold.
I don't know if you're going to have the construction costs by then. It looks like we might not have them by the 22nd, but yeah, we certainly want to inform them of something that we're working on. That's for sure.
Okay, so no action tonight. We'll take this up at a future meeting.
And Keith, when does MassDOT expect to hear from us?
Probably next week.
No, well,
End of
that would
January?
surprise me. I mean, MassDOT has given a deadline for closing of January, the end of January, but the town council indicated that they are flexible on that, but I think they'd like to know, and I'm sure council would like to know, and the town would like to know if the town should keep spending money on this project if we're not going to do it. Elisa?
Yeah, I think the only other thing to point out too is there are some things that town would want to do before we agree to purchase the property, and that would also be the phase one environmental assessment. That is something town council advised us to do, and that would take approximately 1 month as well. So just kind of wanted
Right.
to factor that in.
Yeah, and I think town council's thought was that he wouldn't want to incur that cost if the select board had not approved going
Correct.
forward with the purchase. So,
So
but
I
thanks.
guess that means that that the select board, if they meet on the 22nd, and that's the best case probably, they approve it then, conditional on the environmental inspection, then that takes another month. That means the end of January is when we would let DOT know about the acquisition?
Yeah,
Okay, and they're that flexible because that's when
they
they wanted to
they
close.
they appear to be. They have no other takers for
Okay,
the property. No one else is knocking on their door,
and
and
then the ARPA funds we only have to spend in the next year. So,
Right, right.
okay. All right.
yeah,
So the timelines would still be tight enough that that would be all fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I think it's doing it in a methodical way that
Yeah,
is not
that's fine.
incurring.
I had been concerned that somehow we were hitting up some deadline, but it seems like the closing timeframes are a lot faster than we were originally imagining. We had been thinking it might take a year plus to get
Yeah,
this
yeah, it's a very yeah. We're in a very unusual. It feels unusual, doesn't it? That
yeah, that
suddenly
they'll close in less than
hurry
60
up and
days.
wait
It's like,
for
wow.
the last 3 years, and then suddenly, um,
Yeah.
okay. All right. So this will when we pick a date for our next trust meeting, we can continue a discussion, or we'll just talk about what we know. Okay. Can, uh, can I move on to the next item?
I'm gonna have to leave. Is there anything that I can help you with before I leave?
Let me see. I've got updates. Well, one question was what the on the housing production plan informational update, what the next steps would be to get that approved by somebody. And the trust had suggested the select board and planning board, and that would happen prior to the next um, public hearing that DCAM holds on MCI Concord. So I don't know if anybody knows when that next public hearing is going to be, what our deadline is, but that that's a practical. Our goal is to be able to enter something in the record. That's why we did it. And
Maybe Elisa and I can talk about this offline
yes.
and
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah, just wanted to keep it on
Yeah.
the radar screen.
It's whatever the town wants. We're ready to support however
Yeah.
the town wants to handle it.
Okay, thank you. And let's see, other updates. Just a few quick updates. On Assabet River Bluff, the $250,000 disbursement
set.
number 2 was received. Great, thank you.
Received, paid, and spent, I think even.
Oh, good. Well, then it arrived just in time, which is what we wanted to ensure. The next check for the next disbursement for 250,000 is due April 15th, which is a target date for the conveyance of the first of the 3 new units. So if that changes or if that needs to change, we can stay in touch about that. The small grant agreement, the Second Amendment for so-called Second Amendment for the additional 40,000, that's been approved as to form by town council, and I've shared that with Julie McClure to execute. On the Housing Authority, we have a grant agreement between the trust and CHA for the $300,000 for the Everett Garden sprinklers. Stefan, you want to update us on what your board is going to be doing on December 4th to move that along?
It will be on the agenda for us to discuss and hopefully approve submitting an application to the state for their high leverage
asset preservation program.
That's the one. Where we could get up to 2.5 times what we put in from them as a more than matching grant to support the total cost of the sprinkler project as currently estimated. So that's the plan, and we hope to be able to move forward with that. Thank you, Keith, and the trust for approving the $300,000 to get it started. The state loves the idea of leveraging funds from multiple sources, and so this was the key first step to get the $300,000 commitment from you, and we'll take it to the next step.
Very good. Thanks so much. Thanks for thinking of us and thinking of you. So, I guess that brings us to our the trust goals and strategies implementation to go forward. Yeah, thanks, Liz, to bring us have further discussion about what we've learned from working with Mass Housing Partnership. We at our last meeting, well, as you know, we have three goals: development, planning, policy, and funding. At our last meeting, Rich Feely volunteered to lead the funding goal. I happily received a call earlier today from Matt volunteering for the planning policy goal. Thanks, Matt. And that leaves the development goal, which is looking for a champion from among the members. And it was Shelley Gehring's idea, not mine, but I'm happy with the suggestion that other trust members, other than me, other than the chair, be designated as champions on these goals. I'm happy to work with everybody on them. Mary.
I'd like to consider taking on that role as best I can, given that I'm also on the select board, or certainly give as much support as I have to whoever we decide to, point to that role. But that's something I feel really passionate about. I would really like to see us, it always brings me a lot of personal satisfaction to see when we actually build things, and so I feel strongly about that, and I'd like to make a contribution there.
Right.
I'm
Thank you.
I'm happy to help in that area as well.
Thanks, Mike and Mary. I wonder if for that one at least, we might want to set up a subcommittee to instead of having an unwieldy number of other meetings. How would we feel about if we would have multiple members working on it, setting up a subcommittee where we're talking about the development goal.
Sure.
Because there's limited time during our meetings here. If we could set up an off time to meet, would that work for folks?
I'm open to that.
Would Mary and Mike want to be on such a subcommittee?
Yes.
Anyone else? I'll go to the meeting, but all right. So that's great. So why don't we declare that we'll establish the development goal subcommittee and thank Mary and Mike for volunteering, thank Rich for volunteering for funding, and thank Matt for volunteering for planning policy.
So we don't need a vote for forming a subcommittee?
We don't. We have not, and I watched closely, and the land use working group didn't take votes either when they established subcommittees.
No, we don't.
Rich.
I'm not in favor of votes if we can.
Yeah.
Keith, you were kind enough to distribute what I put out. Rather than talking now, I'm wondering if it would be possible to just encourage people to send me back markups, and then I'll come back with a revision that maybe we want to talk about. But I'd love to have input from people on that document that you circulated.
Very good. Thanks.
The one about our tour, Rich?
No. There's in the package. Keith distributed the goals for, or not the goals.
In agenda item number 5.
Things to be done by the finance in the finance.
There's a 2-page attachment from Rich in that.
Okay.
And while you have the tour, Rich, and Mary, did you want to just briefly mention the site visit to Shrewsbury that you got to
Yeah,
Uh,
I've got to leave in a few minutes because I have
yeah,
another meeting to go to. But
okay.
Rich, do you want to? It was a great. Well, I'll start. I'll be quick. We've done 3 tours, and we have learned so much about how to build affordable units, how to get state subsidies, how to and to get affordable units at a lower AMI level. Some of these places that we visited are truly beautiful. Um, there's a strong sense of community among the people there. It's a strong sense of ownership, even though these are rental units, and yet people have a strong sense of ownership. There's a lot of people who know how to do this. They know how to take advantage of state subsidies. It takes a long time. It's 4 to 5 years to get something off the ground, but there are people out there that we can work with, that we can contract with to get something done. And I think this will be important as more land becomes available. And I'm thinking more around 2229 Main because MCI, as we know, is owned by DCAM. So, when it comes time for us to do something around land that we own and maybe Junction Village, I've learned a lot. And I know that this do-it-yourself model that we've been doing here in Concord can't scale. So that's what I have to say.
Mary, did you
Very good.
actually get to go in a unit?
Yes,
We did.
Yeah,
we
good.
did. It was a
It was
family.
very nice.
It was family unit. It was light, airy, and then the other thing, all the units there, 60% of the units there are 60% AMI, 20% are workforce housing, and 20% are market rate. And every unit is the same. They're appointed the same. There's no
Wow.
difference when you walk into a unit between those categories that I outlined. So, Rich, what would you like to add to that?
Yeah, no, I think the thing I took away is I had been concerned that we wanted low income units, but nobody wants low income only. And what I saw there is you can do it all in one project. The problem is it's got to be fairly sizable. It's probably, as we've seen with the 40Bs, it's I think they can be smaller than a 40B,
Mhm.
which seem to be 150 plus, 200 plus. But it's clearly going to be 100 units or more if you want this range of incomes. So we got to be prepared for that, and we got to have big enough pieces of land to do that. But I was encouraged also. There's some very professional people in this business.
Yeah.
Thanks. Matt?
I didn't see a cap table or anything. I mean, again, we didn't get one for the last one, but this
Right.
one is really even more interesting to me.
Yeah, they're
You know,
definitely using tax credits. There's no question about that.
Yeah, but I'd love to see the
well,
overall funding model.
I will tell you one thing that they said that there was a $16 million project in the town. Rich, I forget what town it was. So a $16 million project and the town had contributed $200,000.
And what about the Shrewsbury project?
Yeah, that was Shrewsbury. The only town money was the 200K, I believe.
200K on a $16 million
Yeah.
development.
Well,
So
hold it. That 93
Yeah, but,
units wasn't 16
yeah,
million.
but Karen Polito lives there, so
who?
the former lieutenant governor.
No kidding.
Well,
Wow.
not in that unit, but
You're in the
things
know.
things happen in Shrewsbury. Well, she came to my retirement party, so we're close, we're tight. So
Okay, good. It's a beautiful place. Anyway,
yeah,
but anyway, you're right. You're right, Matt. We didn't get it. I don't think we asked for it, did we, Rich? We didn't
We
even ask.
didn't ask, we sort of asked for it beforehand. I'll write Adam Stein and see if he can give us
Yeah, I'd love to see
something
it.
that's non-proprietary.
We should follow up too
I
on
mean, it's
Metro
got to be
West.
public info for a project like that. It
Yeah,
can't be
I'm
proprietary.
sure it is. I mean, there's got to be something they filed with you know,
Yeah,
with
yeah.
housing and livable communities.
What about Tavernier Place? Didn't we never got a
We
caption
never got it, as far as
from
I know.
Metro West? That was Metro West. That was the development corp. Maybe we could follow through with them and get that. Who's the right person to follow through with them? I gotta go.
contact I can contact a member of the Acton Housing Board that came to that
Great.
meeting. I know
Great.
him.
That would be great.
Okay.
Okay, I have
All
another.
right, very good. So,
Thank you very much.
thank you. I will contact, we'll determine the date for our next meeting
Excellent.
at a later date.
And I'll be there.
And it will be a date convenient to you all. And it might even be after the housing roundtable if there's no new information for us. So, is there any public comment?
Keith, could I ask one question while we have Alyssa? Could we get an update on the 40Bs?
Oh, sure. Yeah, sorry, I skipped over that.
Hi, yes, I just have an update on Thoreau. The developer reached out and RHSO provided a local regulatory agreement, example for them. So they are kind of proceeding with that. And then they've also, they filed the A&R plan and that was just endorsed, to divide the lot. So that is the update for Thoreau, and I don't have an update for Novo.
On Novo, their A&R plan was approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals the approval not required plan was nevertheless approved by the ZBA last week.
Oh,
So for Novo.
good, thank you.
Yeah, Theo shared that information with the chair at the chair's breakfast yesterday morning. So
Has the Thorough Club the Thorough Project solved their Thorough Club septic problem? I.e. that they want to build on what is now the septic system for Thorough Club.
I believe they're working through that with DEP. I haven't heard any issues with that. I think they're working through that.
Okay,
You know,
I mean,
I think it's all
not at
going.
an impasse at this point. Okay.
No, not right. Nope.
very good. All right, thank you. Public comment.
Linda's
Ed.
got her hand
I'm
up.
sorry. Oh, Linda. Okay, and
Yeah.
then Ed.
Sorry, you moved on earlier on when we were talking about the volunteering for the various groups.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So I'm happy to work with Matt if I can be of any assistance.
Very good.
I would need to reach out to you in order not to form a subcommittee.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Right.
I may give you a call.
Okay.
Just, you can have coffee wherever you like.
Yeah.
And, so just Matt has to pay for it though. So
That's all right. It's on me, Linda.
thank you, Linda. Ed Larner.
Yeah, I'm the CPC housing member, and I'm not speaking for the board, but I am speaking about what we need to do to get the funding that Keith has requested. And I'm asking maybe Keith and I can. It's going to be heavy lifting at the meeting. They've already kind of penciled in the $500,000 figure. So I think we need it. Maybe if you get a chance to talk, or maybe I can send you some information from what I see the point of view, maybe on looking at the huge amount that has been requested by the people representing not open space but recreation. The reason we have new members on the board, so they've been explaining that the reason recreation was added to open space was because when the large cities became part of the CPA, there is no open space there, so they've added things. But here we are out in Concord, where we really are a good trustee of our open space. A lot of the money is going for things that are basically recreation. So if you have a chance, Keith, I know the meeting is coming up next week. I can either just send you an email about what I think we should do about the heavy lifting that's going to be done to.
Sure, very good. And I'd be glad to get together for coffee. early next week, maybe on Monday, if that.
Oh,
if
yeah,
that works.
I have your key email. I'll just ask you. I have, our schedules.
Yeah, I appreciate that opportunity. I do plan to bring revised data or send revised data to CPC so that they're aware that we've committed uh additional, we've committed $356,000 more than they knew when we submitted our application and yeah, so anyway.
Yeah. I mean,
Thank
just,
you. Thanks,
yeah,
Ed.
I'll get in touch and we can go over all this stuff.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Keith, I know you said
Linda.
you were gonna canvass us for what was who was available for the next meeting, but I assume that we're going to try to meet before the 22nd and that we're also going to try to put this item on the 22nd select board meeting agenda now. And we can always take it off if we need to, just to make sure we have a placeholder.
I don't think we're doing that. And we don't have Carrie or I'll talk to I'll see Carrie in Worcester tomorrow, and we'll ask for her advice on what we should do. I mean, I feel more confident that I want this discussion agenda item on the roundtable than just to make sure everyone knows about it.
But for some reason, you've been asking for that for a couple of weeks, and for some reason, we're not getting dates put forward for the roundtable. So that's why I'm raising this other point.
Yeah. I would ask, could you follow up with, I think it needs to be with the selectman's office, that there are dates that the way we pick a date for a roundtable is to see when can 5 select board members be there, and then the rest of us all just show up. But we need to know that first. And I do know that there were some dates that were floated, but I don't, among the chairs, but I don't know which ones were of those were convenient to the select board. So that's job one for us to find out.
Sure. I know that Kristen Bouchard, the RHSO co-director, reached out, but I can also follow up to see about dates. So
Okay,
is this
very good.
for the roundtable?
Yeah, for the roundtable.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be critical to know. And once we know that, I think we can go ahead and pick a date for our next board meeting. But unless I hear something I mean, I'm not inclined to ask for time on a select board agenda until I actually know that we're in danger of being ready
Yeah.
for it. And I don't think we.
And just to note that, I mean, in terms of the MassDOT, the 91B Main Street, there is some flexibility on the date, and I do think that the MassDOT will work quickly once the town decides what the town wants to do.
Right.
So.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Thank you. We'll do the best we can to move things along as deliberately as we can, with the target being getting a yes vote when we need it, and to be ready for it. So very good. So is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So that
I'll
sounded
second it.
like a move by, okay, so Rich and Matt, and on that motion, Mike,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes,
Linda,
Hi, thank you.
Matt,
Aye.
and Keith, aye. So that motion passes, and we are adjourned at 6:29 p.m. Thank you all